Xanthi sat by the window, feeling a wave of sadness. Her husband had gone on a business trip, and this morning, when she was already expecting him back, he called to say he would be delayed again. She was so tired of his constant absences. Their big house felt empty, and her heart felt the same way, empty and cold. Moreover, she had begun to seriously suspect that Carl wasn't leaving for work as much as he was going to another woman. Her suspicions weren't baseless, but she was afraid to ask him directly. What if he admitted it and said he wanted to leave? What then? She would be left completely alone. After all, fate had cruelly denied her even the comfort of children. Her only long-awaited pregnancy several years ago had ended in a miscarriage, after which doctors doubted she would ever be able to become a mother. Yes, men often leave childless women, and judging by everything, Carl would leave her soon. It's devastating to admit, she thought, but nothing in my life has turned out the way I wanted. I had dreamed of becoming a fashion designer, but that dream never materialized. Instead, I work as a technologist at a sewing factory. My relationship with my husband is deteriorating day by day. I ended up on the bottom of life. Xanthi picked up her cat and stroked its soft fur. "You're the only one I have," she said sadly. "You'll stay with me if Carl leaves me." Driven by loneliness and despair, she had even set up a webcam to watch her pet while she was at work, curious about what her cat did in her absence. However, she discovered that the cat didn't do anything particularly interesting, and there was no one else to observe. The weather was miserable. Early spring had taken a sudden cold turn after a few warm sunny days. It had snowed that morning, and now a strong wind was howling outside. Xanthi settled into a chair with a book and was startled by the sudden ring of the doorbell. Peering out the window, she saw an elderly woman hunched under the weight of her burden. In her arms there was a boy of about 5, sleeping with his head resting on her shoulder. "Excuse me, could we come in to warm up for a bit?" the stranger asked, her voice trembling. "Of course," Xanthi replied, puzzled. "But where have you come from? How did you end up outside in this weather?" "Oh, we're not from around here," the old woman explained. "We went out for a walk and got lost. This is Willie, my great-grandson. He got tired and wanted to sleep." Xanthi led them into the kitchen. "I'll make you some hot tea and you can lay the boy down here on the couch," she offered. "Oh, thank you. He is quite heavy. He walked by himself at first, but then he got tired," the old woman said, gently laying the boy down. Xanthi covered him with a blanket and gave the old woman a cup of hot tea. The woman, who introduced herself as Mrs. Stewart, gratefully rested after the difficult journey. Soon the boy woke up, looked around, saw the unfamiliar surroundings, and apparently frightened, began to cry. "What's wrong, little one?" Xanthi rushed to him. She had always been fond of children. "Don't worry, I'll get you some tea and a snack," Xanthi reassured them. The old woman lifted the boy again, whispered something comforting, and then turned to Xanthi. "Please don't mind him. He doesn't speak. He used to, but things happened. But he's very bright and understands everything." Xanthi felt a pang of sympathy for the boy, who seemed intelligent despite his inability to speak. She decided not to pry into the details. Instead, she prepared a snack for him and smiled as she watched him eat with enthusiasm. The visit, however, felt strange. Who was this old woman? Where did she come from? And why was she out in such terrible weather with a young child? Xanthi tried to ask more questions, but the old woman's answers were vague, and it felt rude to press further. After all, everyone has their secrets. As evening fell, the weather worsened even more, and Xanthi suggested, "You can't go out in this weather now. Why don't you stay the night? There's plenty of room for everyone." "Thank you, dear. You know, when I saw your house, I felt that good people must live here. Now I see that I was right." The old woman smiled warmly, but suddenly her presence felt strange to Xanthi. "Am I being foolish, letting complete strangers into my home?" Xanthi wondered, but brushed these thoughts off. She decided that neither the elderly woman nor the boy could do her any harm, and she would be doing a good deed by letting them stay the night. Meanwhile, in the guest room, the old woman tucked the child into bed and sang him a soft lullaby. Xanthi, passing by the room, paused and listened to her gentle humming. The old woman, falling silent, took out her mobile phone and started talking to someone. Xanthi froze, curious about whom the guest was speaking to. "Everything is fine," Xanthi heard. "I'm almost at my goal. Everything is going according to plan. Just as I thought. Don't worry." Xanthi thought. Who have I let into my house, and what will come of it? But now it was too late to think about it or be afraid. She couldn't very well throw the helpless guests out into the night, especially in such weather. The only thing she decided to do was call her husband. She wanted to complain to him, tell him about the unexpected visitors, and ask for his advice. But Carl didn't even want to talk. "Xanthi, don't you understand that I'm at work? I don't have time for all this," he said gruffly and hung up. Giving up, Xanthi went to bed, leaving everything to fate. However, in the morning she decided to review the camera footage, hoping to uncover some secrets. Instead, it only raised more questions. Mrs. Stewart, thinking she was unseen, no longer looked as old and frail. Her back was straight, and she moved around the house quite energetically, clearly searching for something. "Who have I let in?" Xanthi thought, frightened. "What is she looking for? What does she want? I don't know anything about this woman." Determined to find out, Xanthi fed her guests breakfast and sent the boy to watch cartoons. Then, staring at the old woman, she asked resolutely, "Please tell me, who are you and why you came to me? I'm sorry, but your behaviour seems rather suspicious." Mrs. Stewart sighed. "You're right to be suspicious. I probably shouldn't have put on this whole masquerade, but forgive me, Xanthi. I just wanted to appear more pitiful than I really am." The old woman removed her grey wig, revealing mostly dark hair underneath. "And the face, too. You most likely didn't notice the makeup. I used to work as a makeup artist in the film industry." "I see. But why all this? What do you want from me?" Xanthi asked, surprised, realizing that the woman was not 80, but barely 60. "I was afraid you wouldn't let me in, but seeing that I was old, you might take pity on me. The truth is, Willie is not really my great-grandson, but my grandson, the son of my daughter. And forgive me, but he is also your husband's son. Yes, your husband had an affair with my Bridget. It was brief and not serious on his part. Bridget thought he would marry her, but he said he was already married and wouldn't leave you. She gave birth to Willie, and the three of us would have lived together, but a tragedy occurred. Bridget died 6 months ago. Since then, Willie hasn't spoken. He grieves for his mother and cries at night." "This can't be true," Xanthi exclaimed. "I know many men have such adventures, but I can't believe my Carl could be so cruel as to abandon a woman and a child." "But he did," the guest said matter-of-factly. "Well, let's say that's true. But what do you need from me? How can I help you and your grandson?" Xanthi asked, bewildered. "I didn't intend to tell you anything. I came to see Carl to talk to him, but he's never here, so I'm waiting. Hopefully he'll finally show up and listen to me," Mrs. Stewart replied. And as if on cue, Carl appeared. Seeing the guest, he looked confused and even frightened, but quickly composed himself, pretending not to recognize the woman or understand why she was in his house. However, Mrs. Stewart had no intention of hiding anything. "Don't you recognize me?" she asked calmly, and then pulled a photograph from her pocket. "Maybe you remember Bridget. I don't know any Bridget, and I don't understand what you want from me," the man exclaimed, and turned to his wife. "Xanthi, please tell me who this woman is, where you found her, and why she is in our house." "I was going to ask you the same thing," Xanthi replied. "I want to know if she's telling the truth or not." "So you doubt me and are ready to believe a stranger over your own husband? Your wife turns out to be more noble than you," Mrs. Stewart sighed. "Bridget is dead. Willie, your son, have only you now." "Ah, I see. So I should believe this random woman who showed up with some kid claiming he's mine, shouldn't I? Xanthi, do you understand now that she's just a con artist? What does she want? Money? For me to adopt a boy? Who was born to some Bridget? By who knows who? But the more Carl spoke, the more Xanthi became convinced that the guest was telling the truth, not her husband. His behaviour made it obvious. He was scared and confused. And why would that be? Only because the woman was telling the truth. He had a relationship with her daughter, and Willie was indeed his son. "Carl, listen," Xanthi said. "This is indeed a very unpleasant situation, but if the boy is truly yours—" "Xanthi, have you really lost your mind? I don't know this con artist couple, and I want nothing to do with them. Kick them out, and if they don't leave, call the police." Mrs. Stewart looked defeated, thinking they were about to be thrown out. But Xanthi had no intention of doing so. Her feelings for her husband, who spoke so cruelly about a deceased woman he once loved, and his own child, vanished instantly. "And who do you think you are, commanding everyone around?" Xanthi exclaimed, no longer holding back. "This is my house, left to me by my parents. You have nothing to do with it, so if you don't like it, you can leave." She hadn't expected to be so bold, but she had long suspected her husband's infidelity, and now she had proof. Carl, however, was not afraid. He was sure Xanthi would call him back and apologise. He said as much while hurriedly packing his things, though Xanthi was certain she would never take him back after what had happened. When he left, Xanthi sighed in relief and turned to Mrs. Stewart. "Well, I think we've dealt with that problem. You and Willie should stay here. I'm sure we'll get along just fine. I don't have children of my own and likely never will, and he doesn't have a mother, so maybe we can be there for each other." Mrs. Stewart thanked her with tears in her eyes and then confessed, "Thank you, Xanthi. I owe you the truth. I didn't just come here by chance. I came to find a new home for my grandson, and I don't mean just a place. I mean a family. I'm very ill, terminally ill. I won't live much longer, and who will take care of Willie? When I realised my days were numbered, I decided to at least reach out to his father. Otherwise Willie will end up in an orphanage." This news greatly disturbed Xanthi. "How can you say that?" she exclaimed. "What do you mean, terminally ill? You're not that old to just accept death." "Oh, my dear, even the young die," the woman said sadly, "like my daughter." "But have you seen a doctor?" Xanthi asked, concerned. "Yes, I saw a doctor. He said it's too late for treatment." "Then that wasn't a real doctor. He must have been a quack." Xanthi insisted. "Tomorrow we're going to our medical centre. I've heard there's a new doctor there, very knowledgeable and thorough." Seeing Mrs. Stewart hesitate, Xanthi added, "If you want what's best for your grandson, you'll go. I'll go with you." The woman could no longer argue, and the next day they went to the clinic. When Xanthi entered the office with Mrs. Stewart and saw the new doctor, she exclaimed in surprise, "Alan, is that really you?" It was her former classmate, and he also recognised Xanthi immediately. "Yes, it's me, Xanthi. Didn't expect to see me here?" "Not at all," she admitted. "I knew you went to medical school, but I thought, well, I don't know what I thought, but this is a surprise." "Clearly you haven't thought about me at all." Alan smiled. "Now tell me, what brings you here?" He examined the patient and ordered some tests. Then he spoke to Xanthi about Mrs. Stewart's condition. "The situation is serious. I'd even say hopeless. But we can try to ease her suffering a little." "Alan, please, try," Xanthi begged. "I really want Mrs. Stewart to pull through. You can't imagine how much she's been through." Meanwhile, Carl, realising that his wife would likely not kick out the unexpected guests and would not call him back, decided to take revenge on Mrs. Stewart. To achieve this, he contacted the Child Protection Services and claimed that the boy, who had lost his ability to speak due to psychological trauma, was being held hostage by an inadequate old woman. "They don't even live at home, and the boy doesn't see doctors or attend any children's institutions. He travels with this old woman to strangers' homes for unknown reasons, and I know that Child Protection Services are supposed to take action in such cases. So they came and took Willie away. Although the boy had begun to open up and even speak a few words to Xanthi, her arguments that he was happy with her were ignored. Xanthi decided to fight for custody, but she underestimated her ex-husband's ruthlessness. Carl was determined to make her life miserable, and the last task of his strategy was awful: take her home. Without a home, she couldn't care for Willie and would regret leaving him. The house was legally Xanthi's, and Carl was unable to take it from her, but he resorted to drastic measures. He set it on fire. He didn't hesitate to commit a crime, so Xanthi's only home was reduced to ashes, and she hadn't even thought to insure it. Xanthi hesitated to call Mrs. Stewart, not wanting to add to her distress. However, the older woman found out anyway. "I believe you can succeed and gain custody of Willie. Please don't give up. As for the house, don't worry about it. You will have a home. I own a house in the suburbs, an excellent one, and of course I will leave it to you. I'll draw up a will, or transfer the deed, whatever is more appropriate. We'll consult a notary to determine the best course of action. I understand that living alone with a child in the suburbs can be challenging, but believe me, you won't face any insurmountable problems." "Oh, Mrs. Stewart, I'm not even thinking about that right now. I'm mainly concerned about Willie. How can I finally get custody of him?" Xanthi asked sadly. "I think everything will work out. I've never said this before, but I had forceful fortune-tellers in my family, and sometimes I see things too, and I see clearly that you and Alan will have a relationship, and he will propose to you. Don't refuse, dear, because you're not indifferent to him either." Xanthi offered a shy smile. She didn't need any grand declarations to know her own heart, but Alan's intentions were still unclear. As it turned out, she had no reason to worry. Before long, Alan confessed that he had loved her since their school days, had tried to forget her but couldn't. Seeing her again made him realize that Xanthi was the woman he wanted to spend his life with. "I won't say no," Xanthi replied softly, "but you understand, I need to finalize my divorce first, and I want Carl to face the consequences of his actions. I am sure that he burned down my parents' house. Do you remember how beautiful that house was?" Xanthi asked. "Of course I remember," Alan said gently, "and I will help you." Life began to take a turn for the better. Xanthi successfully brought Willie home, and with the help of a speech therapist, he started to speak more confidently. The divorce was finalized, and Alan and Xanthi submitted their marriage application at the registry office. Xanthi decided to let go of her desire for revenge against Carl, but fate had other plans. He set himself up by abandoning yet another mistress, who knew all his schemes. In a fit of anger, she went to the police and revealed that Carl had burned down his ex-wife's house. Ultimately, he had to face the consequences of his actions. But Xanthi no longer cared. She was happy and had a beautiful, complete family.